how the sun-dried tomatoes were all the rage in the 90s and then they just disappeared? I mean, what's the last time you saw a recipe that called for sun-dried tomatoes? Well, today we're bringing them back in a Tuscan tuna pate served with pesto on focaccia. Whenever I make this dish, I always think of the woman who taught it to me. Her name was Rosemary, and she was our neighbor when we moved to Boston right after college. Rosemary was Lorelei Gilmore and Sookie St. James in one human being. In case you're not a Gilmore Girls fan, let me decode that for you. Rosemary was gorgeous, charming, and independent. She just went through a difficult divorce, which was not her first. She had a kid in an Ivy League college and another overachiever in high school. She came from a family with money, but now lived in a run-down apartment building surrounded by grad students. Rosemary had this way of turning cheap into elegant. In a couple of months, she made her apartment look like a restored Victorian, and she could cook. I mean, really cook. She could turn the cheapest canned tuna into a Tuscan pate, and while she served it, she entertained you with the stories of how she met Julia Child or the lavish dinner parties she used to throw back in the day. I was in love with Rosemary. I was dying to learn to cook. I mean, really cook, and Rosemary was willing to share everything she knew. Although we now lost touch, I still remember Rosemary with gratitude, and I still make her Tuscan tuna pate. Chop up a little red onion and about 5 sun-dried tomato halves. Although we are putting everything into a food processor, sun-dried tomatoes have a tendency to get stuck on the processor blades, so cutting them fairly small really helps. Start by making basil pesto, reserving a small handful of basil for the tuna. I have a detailed video on pesto linked below, but you can use absolutely any pesto recipe you want. Normally, I would be making twice as much pesto, but the never-ending rain we've been having in Boston has destroyed half of my basil, so I was short. Get the pesto out, but don't wash the food processor since the tuna is going in next. I love when you can dirty the food processor once, but make 2 things. Put in your onions and tomatoes, a handful of basil leaves, a good squirt of lemon juice, some freshly ground black pepper, and mayo. I'm using Hellman's. Now let's talk about canned tuna. Several of you asked for my recommendation of an affordable tuna brand for canned tuna. The fancy Ventresca tuna you saw me using in a recent video is an occasional splurge. That's not at all the norm in my house. There are many good affordable tuna brands. The ones I normally buy are Genova because it's available at Costco and Tonino because it's available at many of my local supermarkets. What you're looking for is yellowfin tuna packed in olive oil. What's nice about a dish like this tuna pate is that the texture of the tuna doesn't really matter, since we'll be pureeing it to death. So I wouldn't use anything expensive here. Drain the tuna and add to the processor. I'm using 3 cans here. This way I'll have lunch for 2 days. I also like to add a couple of tablespoons of butter. Give it all a buzz, scraping down regularly until you get a homogeneous texture. Taste and see how it is. Since canned tuna and store-bought mayo are very salty, the final result might be a bit on the salty side. If you want to adjust it, try adding some sour cream. If you're sensitive to salt, you might even want to replace half of the mayo in this recipe with sour cream or fatty Greek yogurt to tone down the salt. If you want a softer texture, you can serve it right away or put it in the fridge to let it firm up a little. Both are good, but a little bit different. Spread your focaccia with pesto, top with the tuna, a paper-thin slice of lemon, and enjoy. In case you're feeling ambitious and want to make your own focaccia, my video for it is linked below. And by the way, I have no idea if this dish is really Tuscan, that's just what Rosemary called it. While you were watching this video, have you figured out which Gilmore Girls character I am? Back when I met Rosemary, I was totally Lane Kim. You know, I was this repressed immigrant kid with a secret obsession. Cooking for me was like drumming for Lane. But over the years, I think I morphed into Suki, a neurotic cook who drives everybody crazy and is slightly terrified of children. Yeah, that's me. Here are more culinary tutorials for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.